Feel the grip of the oar handle, smooth yet firm in your hands. Taste the salt of your own sweat and the occasional splash of water. It's all part of the journey. Welcome to another episode of Faster Masters Rowing Radio. Each week, our host, Masters rowing coach Rebecca Caro, dives deep into the world of Masters rowing. Whether you're on the water or in the gym, join us to become a faster master. Let's go rowing.
Well, hello everybody and welcome to another edition of Faster Masters Rowing Radio. I'm Rebecca Caro and I'm continuing my series of interviews with people from different parts of the world to talk about Masters rowing where they live. And today I'm delighted to have joined me from the Dutch Rowing Federation, Seada van der Herik, who is the president, is that right?
Yep, it is correct.
So Seada, welcome to RowingChat.
Thank you. Great to be here. Yeah.
Tell the listeners just a little bit about you and the job that you do in the Netherlands for rowing across the board.
Right. So my name is Seada van den Herik and I've been rowing since 1991. And since 2 years, I'm the president of the board of the Dutch Royal Rowing Federation. And I think it's a tremendous honor to be in this spot. And it's also a little bit more work than I anticipated up front. But I love rowing and I love rowing people. So that's really fine.
And you're also a Masters rower yourself.
Yes, I started in 1991 as a student rower. And then I climbed the ranks through my student club. And I joined the Dutch national team pretty fast in 1994 with Chris Korsanovsky. I rowed 2 world championships. We won Luzern twice. And then I didn't get to go to Atlanta. And then I figured, okay, I'll quit rowing. And I started coaching. And after that, I rowed some at the Bay at San Francisco when I was there for work. And coming back, they lured me into organizing world championships in the Netherlands. So for juniors, under 23. And in the end, by I think 2007-08, I started rowing again, Masters rowing. So I've been rowing Masters for the last 15 years with a Masters women's 8.
Fantastic. Now, the purpose of today is to learn a little bit about what Masters rowing is like in the Netherlands. So talk us through what are the big clubs? How many clubs do you have?
Well, good question. I looked it up myself, and currently we've got 123 clubs, and there's 3 coming in this year or maybe at the beginning of next year. And of those clubs, 27 are actually student clubs. So basically, we've got about 100 general clubs, and in those general clubs, it's mostly Masters rowing there and a little bit of youth.
Fantastic. I know that in the Netherlands, Masters rowing has actually always been very, very strong.
It is. And it's a very strong network. And there's Masters rowing. I know when we started this conversation, I was like, well, what age group do you mean? It's like Masters A starting at 27 up to H. We've got all of them. And then we've also got people rowing internationally, and we've got people just rowing recreational, or we even have midweek Masters rowing. So we've got a really wide spectrum of Masters rowing. And next to Masters rowing, we've also got like ERC rowing for Masters. They also participate in the national championships and the ERC championships. And lately, we also started in endurance racing on the coastal endurance. We see a lot of Masters coming in there also. So I think we're very happy to have like a very solid, enthusiastic, self-organizing Masters. Well, I wouldn't call it group. It's over 20,000 people in the Netherlands. And so, yeah, but it's a nice bunch.
Now, talk us through the calendar that you have each year. What are the big events, the big regattas that Masters might like to know about?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest events for Masters are basically the head of the River Amstel and also the Heineken Racing Regatta. Both of them are at the Amstel and both of them are in March. And so sometimes they compete a little bit with the head of the River Thames, but sometimes they also fall nicely together. And those are actually races between, around 5 to 7 kilometers. And it's student races, and it's also junior races, but also Masters racers. And there's actually already quite a lot of international crews joining us at the Heineken and head of the river. And sometimes they combine their visit also with rowing the head of the Thames. So I know last year I met some American crew who actually went on a joint European trip for both races. So I thought it was actually really nice. But those are two combined races really for students and masters. And then in the rest of the years, there's a lot of like 4, 5, 7, maybe 10-kilometer races for mainly masters and some juniors. And that's more of the competitive area. And then next to the competitive area, we've got what we call marathon rowing. And we've got a few of those going on. It's about 10 every year. It's almost only masters. And then we've got also the recreational rowing and recreational tours in the Netherlands. We've got like, I guess, another 20 or maybe 30 of those. And then we've got what we call the midweek rowing. And so they actually, it's a bunch of people who say, well, it's always very crowded in the weekends at our club. So we really row because they're the older masters. So they row midweek, and they also organize themselves so they can row at each other's club. So they are like,
so they visit.
So they visit each other's club in the midweek. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I love the idea of sort of private matches, private visits like that, because you don't have to take a boat. You just have to arrange to be there.
Yeah, I think it's actually really nice. We've been talking now with the German Federation and the Dutch Federation, because in Germany they call it wander-rudern, and in the Netherlands we call it also like recreational rowing. And actually, there's quite some crews or quite some clubs that actually offer wander rowing. It's not the fast boats, right? It's like the sea boats or the B boats. But it's really nice, and you get to the best and nature reserves and to the nicest rowing clubs, only friendly people. They help you with everything. You just make a reservation, show up there, and they help you out. And so that's one thing we're going to look for the next few years, if we can actually strengthen that network of wander-rudern or recreational rowing between some of the Western European countries.
And it's so nice is actually to travel isn't too great. You know, from the northern part of Germany to come to the Netherlands isn't so far. And of course, Belgium is adjacent.
Yeah, it is.
That would be a great innovation. So I've put up the word innovations here. I love hearing these things. So you'll know that we've already interviewed the Belgian Rowing Federation and the German Rowing Federation. Is there anything else that you guys are working on that perhaps people listening in other parts of the world might like to emulate?
Well, actually, we changed one thing in the masters categories last year, because we have the same masters categories as the as World Rowing, but we do have a difficulty with keeping the student rowers until the Masters A, because unless you're really at the national or international level, you'll keep on rowing and training until you're like 30 or end of 20s. But for a lot of students, they're done studying like by 22, 23, 24. I mean, in the Netherlands, they limited the amount of years that you can study, right? And so they when they finalize their study, they kind of finalize their rowing careers as well. But they're not yet 27. So when they go to a general club, it's not like they can't compete because they're not 27 anymore, and it's no fun competing against seniors, right? If you don't train like 10 times a week, only like 4 or 5 times a week, there's nothing for you in those fields. So actually we started 2 years ago with kind of creating this pre-masters field. So it's like between 20 and 30. So it's really to cover this whole area between juniors and students and before really becoming a master. But we didn't get that many races going, so it wasn't that successful yet. And actually last year in our meeting, we changed, and to be honest, it was a little accident, because we changed our racing regulations, and then somehow we ended up with saying that Masters A, you had to be an average of 27 instead of at least 27.
Okay.
So we as a board, we tried to turn it back, saying, no, we want to comply with the World Rowing. So we want to stay at least 27. But then all the clubs told us, we don't want that. We want you to bring it on for average of 27. And it's really interesting because that gives a lot more space, especially for the ex-students, to grow into masters, because you can already start masters A when you're 25 or 26 when you're rowing with an older bunch.
It's
So I
easy.
think,
Yeah.
yeah, so we're experimenting there a little bit.
I know the US have introduced a category they call double A. It starts at age 21 and goes to 26. So yeah, I think they're thinking in the same way that you're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, it sounds nice too. But we have 2 other solutions now. We'll see what works out best in a few years. Yeah.
Now, do you have a large number of adults learning to row for the first time? Because traditionally, of course, masters rowing was people like yourself who you rowed when you were younger, you go away from the sport and then return to it.
Actually, we do. We looked at our numbers a few years ago, and then we saw there's actually a lot of rowers stepping into the sport like 45 plus or something. And it's people who are looking for new types of sports, maybe because they can't do the running or any more kind of heavy impact sports. And then they turn into the rowing, and they get to the general clubs, and they start rowing there. They learn rowing, and some of them get very fanatically after a while. But it's also, they're really nice to have this side entrance like 40 plus, because they're very eligible rowers. They're very committed to the club. They're very careful with all the stuff. So it's a good club to have joined in our general clubs. And if you imagine, I mean, your rowing career can go up to like 70 or 80 years. So they're still in there for 20, maybe 30 or 40 years. So it's a really nice club. I have a real nice joke also, because we have in our board, we want to have a very diverse board. So we have now we have a female president, the first one in 100 years. But so we have 3 females, 5 male, and then we had to select a new guy. And we found Herik, and he's just great. And we said, oh, we want you, because he's in his 50s, but he started rowing as a novice at a club. And so we basically said, we want you because you bring diversity. He was like, I'm a white male in my 50s. How can I bring diversity? I said, well, but you're a first adult novice to start rowing, and we really need to understand how that works and what's the driving force for those people to start rowing. So I thought it was we thought it was a nice little joke.
Very nice, but also congratulations to Herik, because certainly I live in New Zealand, the fastest growing part of the sport is adult novices over the age of 40.
Yeah.
Now, do you also host masters rowing camps in the Netherlands?
Well, yes and no, and maybe I don't know all of them. I do know we have a very nice touring competition committee, and they organized boating tours internationally. So every summer they have like 6 tours, and for this year I just looked it up, and they have 2 in Germany, 2 in this year in England, and then in the Netherlands, but they also go to France or to other countries in the Netherlands. So they have like touring camps. So we've got that part. And then the other thing is that we do see that also the older rowers or the master rowers, they want to keep on learning. They want to keep on developing, and they want to keep on learning. So we do see now an offering coming up for also more commercial parties, or not really commercial, but somewhat commercial. And so, for example, Herik, he went to a camp on the Willem-Alexanderbaan in Rotterdam to improve his rowing. And I also know that there's other groups actually offering clinics or rowing classes for master rowers to improve their rowing.
Now, just to wrap up, what future plans do you have? You've already hinted about your collaboration with the German and the Belgian Federation. What else is on the horizon for masters rowing in the Netherlands?
Well, last year we asked the Recreational committee, because to help you out, I think we're really strongly organized because we have 5 committees in our rowing federation that really focus on masters. So it's the masters committee, but that's really for more international rowing. We've got the midweek committee. We've got the touring committee, the recreational rowing committee, and the marathon committee. So we've got like 5 different committees. So they're very strongly organized, which is great. And but we asked the recreational rowing committee what it is actually that the recreational rowers, master rowers, need. And it was interesting. They did a lot of interviews, and that's where we found out they want to have fun and they want to be healthy, but they also want to progress. So they want to be challenged.
They want coaching.
And I think we kind of overlooked that. So this is going to be one of our attention points for the next few years, how to keep promoting also offerings for recreational rowers or masters rowers. So that's one. And the other thing is, I think we'll also, next to rowing, we'll also focus like on erg. Can we do more on the ergs? And we'll also focus on the coastal rowing, the endurance coastal rowing, to broaden the horizon and also the opportunities for masters. But the thing is, all of that is because it sounds like huge plans, and we do have huge ambitions, but they're not the ambitions of the Rowing Federation itself, basically. What we try to do is really try to feel our network of 120 clubs and 43,000 rowers, because that's the rowing network in the Netherlands. And we as a federation, we want to be the beating heart in this network, and to stimulate all the ambitions and to stimulate the exchange of information and the participation to races, and also make sure that the calendar gets matched best. And of course, we do the national team, where we put a lot of our effort and focus on. But for the broad network, we want to be the beating heart. And together with all those clubs and enthusiastic, mostly masters, but also students, because students are also very innovative and very ambitious, we'll get a lot of this done in the Netherlands the next few years.
That sounds like a really good philosophy to have, because my experience with masters is that once you share ideas with them, they will often take an idea and think, oh, we just need to change it a little bit to make it suit our situation. And you find that it slowly improves, and the framework has been provided, but then people make it work locally.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you look at the Netherlands, we're really small, right? Especially compared to New Zealand. So I think in the Netherlands, everybody can join every race that there is in the Netherlands. So there's actually a lot of collaboration. And sometimes I'm just so proud at looking at all those rowers, and the self-organization of this whole rowing network is really great. So we don't only have great rowers, we also have great organizers and volunteers. So, I think that's why I like rowing so much and rowing people.
Seada, thank you for giving us your time and sharing these great insights. And I hope that the people listening will enjoy and take some ideas away from what you've suggested today, so that together we can work to broaden masters rowing across the whole world.
Okay, well, thank you, and hope to see some of the masters at our Dutch races.
Now that, to all our listeners, thank you so much for joining us today, and I very much hope that you will stick with us for future episodes of Faster Masters Rowing Radio.
We are part of the RowingChat podcast network. Please tell your fellow rowers about the show. If you've learned just one helpful thing from today's episode, please consider supporting the show for as little as $1 per month by visiting fastermastersrowing.com/podcast.